One map down, potentially. One more to go. We'll see what we end up finding as this series continues to provide some surprises. This is the Valorant First Strike Close Qualifiers. My name is Bach. Joining me on the broadcast, Tom, Biz, and Ryan Central. Spot up. We counted them out, and unfairly so. I think we looked at their earlier performances, Tom, and we said there's no way they could easily take this over Dignitas, and then they do that in the first map, but there's still that hurdle of a follow-up map that they're going to need to find. Can they find it in the next map of this series, Tom?
Well, I'll be honest, like they came in for me as a team that not really seen too many times. So I kind of wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt in the pre-show and say, you know what, we are basing this off of Sentinels didn't do as well versus Dignitas as we expected, and Envy absolutely blew Spot Up out of the water. So we were going 1 add 1 equals 2 and not really factoring in any other details. And in all honesty, Dignitas kind of went back to what we saw when they played versus 100 Thieves. Like they looked like they were getting dominated in a lot of rounds, and it came down to retake situations where it was Def, who obviously the more experienced player from what we know, came in and managed to at least bring back some rounds that they maybe shouldn't have had. And that's a real worry, because this is a team that realistically Dignitas will have high expectations. They're a big organization within North America. Even if this is a new team, you're kind of looking at this going, well, there's an unside roster on the other side that like maybe you just get them instead.
I mean, for me, yeah, I mean, I just listening to what Tom said there was very shocking, because you got to look at it like Spot Up's position. You could argue that they're not even a top 20 team. Like, they qualified into this top 16 in NA, but you're missing Andbox, Immortals, even like Cloud9 White and FaZe, teams that could even
New
be
NRG.
Spot Up in, New NRG. There's a lot of teams that are competing to sort of be within that region. Granted, Spot Up got hit, those teams didn't, but they did have to run into Sentinels, lost very handedly. And this group, as Tom mentioned before, has 2 top 5 teams in with Envy and Sentinels. And Dignitas, you could certainly look at their form and go, possibly still top 10, maybe. It wasn't easy for Spot Up, and it's not been easy so far. But at least we get a good look in on what they can do. And at the end of the day, their expectations for qualifying aren't going to be too high. But their aim is to get signed. And this is a great way to get noticed, beating a team like Dignitas. If they can go on and win this, even if they bomb out to Envy or Sentinels, that's still a real good look for them.
I mean, I'll be honest. I've had orgs that are looking to get into Valorant message me and ask for recommendations, teams they thought that they should sign. And, like, I never would have pegged Spot Up as one of those teams. And that's honestly a disrespect to Spot Up that I don't think that they deserve. They've always consistently been right there. Like you say, Tom, you haven't seen them play. It's because they just get right to that edge, and then they can't quite get over that last hurdle. So they might get to the final round of a qualifier and then lose and miss the qualifying spot. That's happened to them numerous times. Or, like, they get through to the upper bracket final, and then they lose in the lowers later on. Like, they're consistently putting up decent performances, but, you know, as the rest of the scene really improved, drastically so, we watched the climb, they were on a much slower scale. And, you know, that roster, too, has been a bit of a revolving door, with some pieces kind of moving in and out, but the core staying the same. So now we move over to a new map. And it's a fresh start for Dignitas, but they're down 1-0, and that's a bit of a surprise. Now, yeah, sure, it's their map selection, but I don't know. I'm a little bit concerned if you're a Dig fan, but, you know, I'm looking at Spot Up, and I'm thinking, if they can take this series, maybe that's finally what they need to push them over that line and get them those opportunities that they've been fighting for all this time. Tom, Ryan, let's see if we're going to, in fact, see that. Is Spot Up going to take the series, or is Dignitas going to fight back and force map 3?
Well. It would be a pretty big upset if they managed to do it. Obviously, as said, Dignitas is one of those organizations that I'm sure they expect a lot of this team. But this was the map earlier, Ryan, where Dig looked pretty good. They took Sentinels to OT, a map the Sentinels like to play. Can they show up?
Look at Spot Up's comp. Triple duelist. We saw a little bit of this from Cloud9. Took us moving over from the Omen to the Rays. They're going to be defending first. 2-10 against Envy wasn't a good look. Dignitas having a bit of a closer game against Sentinels, but both lost it. Both ended up here. Spike is actually going to be planted onto B, but there's a lot of pressure towards A and A Link at this point. It's going to be super difficult for players like Ruston and Tucker to take back this space. If they can get this killjoy at least, they can make progress onto the B site. And that Spike's taken away. They're just ignoring him.
Campeki is going to be the first one to draw blood, although he's taken a hell of a lot of damage in response. Oda is in a good spot, but I say that he gets killed off within seconds, and it's left all onto Maka, trying to save his team. He's not even on the right side. There's nothing he can do here, and well, spot up, yeah, flawless. They don't lose a single player, and I was interested by that pistol because I think we see a similar thing from TSM, except they take the spike to A. Yeah. So they had the 2 players push through the connector, and then the spike goes A because obviously slightly easier to hold. B is pretty much synonymous with retakes at this point. Even Sentinel struggled earlier on holding down on B. Dignitas thought they could do it, but they were wrong.
Time's out.
And I'm really excited to see the way that Spot Up are going to play. Cloud9 ran triple duelist, haven't through this tournament. Very interesting tidbit to keep an eye out for, because it could be hiding strats, to be honest. Because Cloud9 haven't looked particularly good on this map since they've changed to pretty much what Dignitas are running right now. That kind of composition. And really, any of those 3 duelists can show up. Spot Up can use that to their advantage. 1-0 up, and I think if they can get that lead against Dignitas yet again, that would be a weight off their shoulders on this defense. Dignitas putting some pressure in, wanting to split in, but Bunny and Tucker have it on lockdown in mid and garage. And you would expect another flawless round to come through at this point, to be honest.
The timing of that couldn't have been much better. But then, the thing that interests me here is we got a lot of Spectres. Now, normally you'll see a few, or a couple, so maybe a Stinger, like some cheaper SMGs, and then a few pistols alongside it. Either that or maybe a rifle or 2, then you have less repurchases in the next round. So I kind of wonder what Spot Up have planned with 4 Spectres. Well, if of course the remaining players stay alive, and Mac is making things costly. So it will only be 3 Spectres. I also wonder if they're going to invest back in with rifles, or if they will just take this with a Stinger or 2 extra and then wait for the next round.
And that was a key thing about the Ascent game for those that are tuning in for the second map, where Spot Up won a lot of rounds early on, but the damage that came in from Dignitas was so costly that it's forcing moments like Campeki and Buddy now, where they're not really wanting to buy up at all. So Dig have an opportunity here, pretty much full buys with the rifles, in some cases half armor, sure. No ultimates online yet, but that gun advantage could be big, and look at the way that Sup are going to try and play. Taking a lot of space in mid. Campeki's in a nice position, but with just a ghost and full armor at least, not expected to catch much, as Dignitas are more working the extremities at this point. Look how deep Sam is.
He took a lot of control, but didn't eventually play off it. Maybe spotted the alarm bot and didn't want to give away his position too early into the round. However, because it's not being challenged for, seems like he's now bringing a friend. Now, bear in mind, this is an out-and-out bonus round for Spot Up. They have 1 player, I believe, on a Ghost, and then the rest on SMGs. So if they were to win this round, it would be an absolute atrocity for Dignitas, and you'd have to start to look at this question, what's gone wrong. Def, though, is going to kill off his counterpart.
Spike
this leaves the remaining players basically just considering just throwing some weapons into this one. Just try and take as much away from your opponents as you can. And Def, in the meantime, started rotating back, but he's going to be caught. And now that's a free rifle upgrade that they can take into the next round, or try to use to hold off some remaining players.
And it is pulling Maka away from the site. He's going to be just looking at A lobby just in case his flank comes in. And really at this point, it's constrict Dignitas, make sure that some of them go down in this process. They're going to throw a paranoia up, and Campeki can at least get a couple of exits. Same as Bunny now, it's a 2 versus 2. Really no time for the retake in, but that's not the point of this area of the map. Sam gets free, he's going to survive with his life, and I'm pretty sure Figment some time ago decided that he was just going to stay on C, keep a hold of stuff, and we can have a look at how the money is. Should be a little bit better for Spot Up at this point. The operator's in the hands of Campeki with the Bladestorm if he chooses to use it. I think the money for Dignitas, not ideal, but certainly not bad, as people are mostly buying up.
Well, this is the first proper gun round we're actually going to have, and yeah, as you said, the last round is a success, realistically, for Spot Up. So now we need to see whether or not Dig can actually win off the back of weaponry now. And Pecky's already spotted one out. Question is he going to get pressured and pushed down? He gets away with the second kill. Dashes away. Shouldn't get anything more into Odorous, but it doesn't matter. He bought time. And that was enough for Tucker to find an extra kill. Even still, though, Def has traded things back. He was a bit quiet when it came to their last map.
Spike planted.
Had some real troubles and then brought things back on the final map of the day. Either way, looking a lot better this time. Rusted was the star of the show in the first, but he can't quite close it out this time. Maka will give Dignitas their second. And now for Spot Up, the money might be a little bit iffy.
More ultimates online for them, though. Tucker with the showstopper. We haven't really seen any Raze play at all today, so having that ultimate to open up a frag, to open up a site even, just to sort of clear up some of the retakes is going to be key for them. Some buy-ups in cases for Figment, as his money was good from the save that we saw just before. The Dignitas very much in the driving seat on attack now, and the Bladestorm is going to be used. Most likely at this point it will be from the side of Spot Up. Kempeki is wanting to face a little bit with the help of the Paranoid from Figment. They're going to be pushing down here, but all they find is that turret. Nice play from Dignitas to avoid it, and they even get the frag at him, so that ultimate's not going to find much else.
Yeah, for Spot Up in this round, it's looking pretty bleak. The C site completely under the control of the attackers. Psalm also finding a kill while lurking on the other side of the map. With just 2 players remaining, I think what they can really hope for, Ryan, is a few exit kills here and there. They can retrieve a slight upgrade weaponry, make things a bit more costly. But for now, they're just getting picked apart.
Now Rico even perfectly placed. A flawless round is so damning for Spot Up, because Dignitas have been pretty good at saving the money that they need. Odorous, if he dies with the Operator, he'll be able to buy up another one. Some players even looking close to maxing out in some cases. And now they have the ult advantage. Kempegi using the Bladestorm being caught out can't do much else. But they are fairly close to having a lockdown, which would be super useful on his defense. The issue is that Depth has his already. 3 and 4, but right now, Dignitas are going to be happy with things are going at the moment. Key round for Spot Up to win.
Lock in sight. Here.
Oh, it's an aggressive push. We're going to see the battle of the Jets, potentially. Although they kind of get distracted a little bit. Maybe not for Depth, though, as he peeks in with an impactful double. 2 openers to start things off, and now things look pretty damn troublesome. Now, of course, the one thing I will say is if you're playing a triple duelist, I kind of expect you to do better on the attack, and you're going to need these sort of plays, but thus far, it hasn't been going particularly well over the last few rounds for Spot Up.
I think Dignitas have been playing the pressure game really well, certainly when it comes to A. It's one of the reasons why Spot Up with Foster playing aggressive play might do it again. Look at this, another peek coming through. Odorous is lucky not to die there. In that case, 16 HP. It's going to pick up the pace for Dignitas. But I do think the planting on B would be a big mistake considering the pressure that's already there. Look at the position of Figment. He's right on this side. Showstopper is going to be used. It's going to find something. It finds Supper. And sooner enough, Spot Up could bring it back a little bit. But they've checked this angle. No, Maka can get one, but he's traded out. Mike hasn't even been planted yet at this point because all of this pressure coming in from Spot Up, they've brought it back. This is a really difficult position to be in from Def. A bit of a mistake to go for this site. Now they need to sort of bring it back. Bladestorm comes out. It's not going to be used. Def brings it to a 1 versus 1. Killjoy versus Killjoy. Look at the health, though, of Rustin. Def gets 4. Key round for Dignitas to win. But the reason why that was so close was their own demise. It was their own fault.
Yeah, they look very, very shaky when it comes to B. It's been a couple of rounds now where they've lost retakes or they've had those sort of after-plant positions or the opportunity for one, and they don't quite defend it. Luckily, it's that man again. As said, like when it came to Sentinels,
Recalling my boss.
Def definitely had a bit of a rough one when it came to this map. He's now top of the board with a really important 4K, and it's sent Spot Up straight back to pistols once again. They are struggling. to really get anything done. It's unfortunate because that round at least was very close, but in these sort of rounds, at least up to now, they've not been able to do too much, and even there, just a trade leaves the A site almost completely open.
I do think in some of the cases for Spot Up on their game against Envy, that maybe the one-sidedness of how the game looked wasn't really depicting how close some of the rounds were. It was very scrappy, but Envy are a mature enough team, I suppose, to not get caught out by scenarios that we just from Dignitas. It was a big mistake to try and take a fight there. They had full map control and they panicked to try and get the spike down. And it just became a real scrappy affair. This one more straightforward though, mostly because Spot Up Spy isn't going to be big. They have a lockdown, that's all they have. Are they going to realistically use it? Not likely. Might be a case of Figment again pushing around this flank, but to be honest, you're looking at Odorous. He's got a keen eye on it. You would expect that he's going to win that engagement. Just backing up a little bit. They're still going for the retake because why not? The guns aren't on their hand, but they're not checking this angle behind them. Supper actually gets away with murder. I'm surprised it took him so long to see Rustin there.
I think they expected the paint shell to kill off anybody who was in that corner, or at least that they might react or move, but he just sits there, tanks the damage, and because of that, they don't actually check the angle properly. 5-2, Dignitas in a commanding lead, and although some of these rounds have been a little bit closer, their finances are off the charts. The problem is we've not really seen... It's interesting because the triple duelists, they've been doing okay. Like we've seen Campeki get a few openers. It's actually Rustin who's been a little bit quieter, and it was weird because he was almost entry fragging when it came to the last map on the attacking side.
Yeah.
And his defensive utility thus far hasn't really done too much. But then again, I guess a lot of the pressure is coming on this A site where he doesn't currently reside.
The issue is this play... See, a lot of teams like TSM used to do this kind of thing, but it hasn't worked. It's just a little bit of pressure early in from Dignitas, and they're going to be hitting C really hard. Lockdown is available on this defense, but they could catch off Rustin in this position. It's not ideal. I think to the point that Omen might want to try and take some of that potential, but that's such a good paranoia. It's unfortunate that you can't really get one. Maka's blind firing with the Hunter's Fury. Can't even really get any damage in, but Rustin's still in this position. A lot of utility being thrown out to try and clear him, but he's still alive. But Tucker coming to the rescue. He's good to Rustin. Much better from Spot Up. Dignitas had a straightforward affair with executing onto the site, but it's actually almost flawless from Spot Up. They just dealt with everything that was thrown at them, and they bring it 3-5.
Yeah, it almost seems like in that round at least that Figment almost just played with his opponents, because I do worry that if he wasn't spotted, that maybe the Hunter's Fury goes into the back corner instead to at least try and clear it, and then you don't know, Rustin might have been called out or caught out. He also times his peak very, very well, so mentioned he was a little bit quiet. They finally put some pressure onto him, and he thrives in those situations. No surprise, really, to see the Dignitas have gone, yeah, I think we'll just go back to A. That's been our major success. They haven't been able to stop us thus far. Def has been doing well on these openers, and it's him versus Campeki once again trying to bait the shot, because if he does, that's where he can charge onto his opponents, but it's a bait and switch. They've left the Reyna behind in play to almost try and bait in that peek. Bunny waiting for that angle, but for now, he's going to have to peek into Def, and he actually wins it. The tap comes out off the back of the Vandal, and, well, the headshot is enough.
Yeah, I like the fact that they put the Reyna there, because I think Def was expecting to be peeked by an op again. So the Vandal was a very big surprise, but shout out to the rest of Spot Up. They've been playing the rest of this map perfectly. Sat back and even positioning from Tucker. Dignitas aren't going to be happy with the way that B has been looking so far, but they've taken a good amount of space. And Tucker loses that. That was a sick flick from Sam, but luckily Rustin could get the kill. Some of these kills the Dignitas coming out of clear air, but Spot Up are at least trying to bring this back a little bit. This B site is a mess from both teams at this point, but it makes it super exciting.
30 seconds left.
And Maka can't even plant the spike at this point because Campeki's just staring him down. Odorous gets caught out from that angle, and there's a nice little pincer from Spot Up. Maka's got to try and make a play. Is he going to try and pick this? He does get the kill onto that, so it's all up now to Figment to try and make a play. He peeks a little bit too early. And yet again, another round I don't think Dignitas should have won, Tom.
I'm a little bit disappointed as well that from the side of Spot Up, if they wait for the spike to go down there and push that together, there's like a 90% chance you win that round, and unless like Maka does something incredible. And sure, he does a fantastic job of isolating each of those duels in the 1 versus 2 to like pick them apart, find a spot where he can take the 1 versus 1. But even if they just wrapped around through spawn and grouped up together, I think that's a very easy take. The only way he wins is if they do what they did, which is try and take the fights individually. It is Campeki back on the operator, and again, he goes for the same peak. They're expecting it at this point. Bunny is there to at least get the trade, and he will dismiss himself back around the corner. Lots of utility being put into place, but he's got Tucker to try and support him. I say try because he hasn't held the cross at all. Doesn't matter though, because he gets just about out of the sight before the pick comes back through.
You should run.
Even still though,
Spike planted.
the sight is going to be taken. Lockdown put into play, but they will be able to blast in the back corners. Where's Super going though? He's going all the way back into the spawn. This could play out similarly to what we saw previously. If they manage to kill off the remaining man in this corner, which they do, they can now just get on the defusal. He has no way to get back into this, and they should know that he's TP'd behind them. Super just trying to get something done here, but it's over. And it's unfortunate. It's a similar stance to what we saw from Def in the previous map, where he does so well to get into a flanking position, but unfortunately the players don't stay alive long enough.
It was a good retake from Spot Up. Glimmers of greatness, but now with 2 rounds left of this half, they're playing for equal results at most. Dignitas could have an 8-4 lead if they want. And I really like the play there from Tucker. He held on to the site. Kampeki's thanking his teammates. Thank you guys for saving my bacon there. Because now he's changed up his positioning. Not trying the same thing, but look how much space Dignitas have going towards A. But because of how well Spot Up have been playing when it comes to aggression, they don't know it's completely open other than for the Killjoy and a bit of a utility. They're going to be hitting Garage. They're going to be hitting Tucker.
Well, when a Guardian play works,
Get out of my way.
definitely one of the most exciting things to watch in Valorant. Actually going to be Bunny, though, on the other side to get the opener. A cheeky play down mid. Finds that pick and doesn't really take much damage in response. Storm will retrieve the operator, but they have managed to get in control of the C site. Now, C site retakes are not something we've really witnessed too much so far, but there goes at least the ult to try and deny their pressure. It will gain a little bit of extra space. The lockdown and the jump over. It's Campeki to find a pick back. Now they'll just take the isolation. They'll leave and let Super have his sight. The fact is the rest of the team are coming back through in full force. He's managed to catch one though on the edge of the smoke. Bring it into a 1 versus 2. A possible scenario, but the spray doesn't quite connect. It will be Spot Up to take themselves a 5th round. Again, it's close, but this time it's a little bit better when it comes to their retake.
No.
Even Dignitas on half-buy rounds can do so much damage to Spot Up. It's pretty much been the tale of the day.
Last round.
This is in the hands of Spot Up. I honestly believe that they can do some work here, but mistakes have been obvious, it feels, for both sides. It's just who can exploit them the most. Final round of this half, everything needs to be used up. 3 ultimates either side of varying degrees. You got to fancy what Spot Up have available for a retake. Certainly the Showstopper could do quite a lot, but the Hunter's Fury can open up the site for Dignitas. Could be on as even at halftime if things are going, but Spot Up, they've been doing this a lot. Aggressive A plays. Dignitas are actually going to try and take space in other avenues if they can.
It's looking fairly similar to the last map. We saw one team start incredibly strong and sort of let it slip away. It's going to be the take of the B site, one that, well, we haven't seen successfully at all so far. Maybe they can deny them before they even get to the B site. That's the new plan. If we just fight them before they get to B, then they can't retake it off us. If they let this one slip, Brian, it would be an absolute mess. A 3 versus 5, both Empresses used at the same time. We're going to see Showstopper expended, but it's off the back of a trade, so that's absolutely fine. And well, it's left all onto one man, just floating above, trying to avoid the ult, but he's actually found 2. I don't see a way that he wins this just because of the remaining positioning. He's going to try and just stick out the defuse, and Maka will be there to close. A similar scenario to the last map, a 7-5 half this
Switching
time
sides
in favor of Dig. And the pistol round is going to be ever crucial.
Yeah, really big from Dig there, just to take garage control after planting B. Much better, much more of a backbone that you can hold on to that site and they red spell up's aggressive play. We'll be able to see a few more of the better moments on that half thanks to GoPuff for these replays. And Kampeki had so much impact with this operator, but a lot of the times it was an opening, as we're seeing on screen. Def had some great play. I've really enjoyed watching him, but I think if you're going to look back, it's going to be these really sloppy plays from either side on B. Super now going to be the attacking side. We saw some really good plays on Ascent. They can transfer it over to this map too. They can get an easy 2-0. Dignitas certainly not out of it just yet. They're going to be on the defending side.
To do. He's called for the rotation. His teammates are running. He's trying to deny them as much as possible. But the fact is the openings go the way of the attackers once again. Maka has at least been able to find an opening pick. That's something at least. And the plant is going to be a very open one. It gives a lot of angles to jump through. Only results in a trade, and that seems to be everything at the moment. Kills going the way for Spot Up, and it's left on to Super once again. He came close previously, and he's looking to try and do it once again. Into a 1v1. He's expecting maybe someone in the back corner, and it's close. It's Omen on Omen, but it's Figment to take it home. And
Figment relying on the right click there a little bit from the Classic, but worked out well for him. And some of these executes, certainly on Ascent, were really good from Spot Up. The utility that they use, granted it was a pistol, so there's only so much firepower that they can bring to the table, but they're buying up. There's no real worry about the economy. It's just get what you can. Get a Bulldog if it's good. It's not a case of worry about the future rounds. They want to make sure that they can take this for Dignitas. Bring the scores even by taking these 2 rounds. But against Eco, Spot Up have looked weak at best in some cases.
oh. You sort of mentioned both teams have definitely had their issues at times versus what is pistols. Dignitas are pretty much just gamble stacking, rotating all of their players onto C. For now, at least, they've got it spot on. And that's a scary prospect. You may be thinking, well, it's just a few classics, not really much invested in this at all, but the fact is, these classics definitely can get it done, especially with a few dinks here and there. Anti-flash being played by Def. Unfortunately, it wasn't the type of flash he was hoping for, and that's a really nice cleanup. That's a lot easier said than done, I'll be honest, from Spot Up. Like, most of the time, you're going to lose a player or at least take some damage, but they managed to keep that squeaky clean.
And they even got the plant in, which means that they get a little bit extra cash too. Buy-up's not going to be a troublesome one for them. But it's so important that Dignitas win this. You would assume even on a map like Haven, where the stats suggest that it's a little bit more even between attack and defense, that even still then, defenders will have this innate advantage. Certainly when you talk to the devs, it seems that way, but Suffer doing pretty so far on this map. Still a long way to go. It's whether they're expecting at this point Supper to be in the position that he's in. There's been some really tricky Omen spots on this map. Figment still wanted to push and flash out really at this point, but Super sees them all. The paranoia is going to be good to get them, but might not be much follow-up going on, and Superman's going to be looking to hold on to his life, but he even gets Kampeki. And this is a very scrappy affair, though. Another pretty decent execution spot up, but there's still 2 Dignitas players waiting for this retake.
And this is a bonus round again. Like, some of their players didn't even buy any armor going into this, so they need to make sure that this round goes back to the home of Dig, and unfortunately for now, it's not looking good. It's Maka left in the clutch. They're going to try and peek him together, but he gets both headshots. What a clutch from him. He keeps this round in their favor, an 8-7 lead taken, but damn was that close.
It was such an awful angle to take a double peek at. It really didn't take Maka much to just align things in a certain way that he was spraying through both of them at the same time. And just openings like that from Spot Up, just little mistakes. are going to be gaping wounds for them against a team like Dignitas, who, yeah, haven't looked as good as you were expecting. They've had a big change up. They've had a big roster shift around. But this is still a team that has scared the likes of TSM, done damage, and still a contender to do well in this tournament. But if they don't win Haven, they're out.
Well, this is the round where Spot Up can pretty much put the pain onto Dig. They may have won that round, but as mentioned, that was the bonus for Spot Up. So we're not sat here singing the praises. Sure, it was a sick clutch for Maka, but it's not one that necessarily should have been needed. Of course, if they win this round, it's all a distant memory. It really doesn't matter too much. The attackers, though, building in. The alarm bot's been spotted, so that won't do too much, but it has the same result. They know exactly where they're going to be, and nice start from Def and Maka. They find the opening kills. Maka continues from the last round. And honestly, it isn't going to matter how many players they lost in the last one, because they're keeping this one very clean indeed. Not a single player lost, barely any damage received, and Dig take a 9-7 lead.
Save is likely from Spot Up. You have the Blade Storm for Kanpeki, who has been top fragging for his team, but look at Maka, 20-8. Has had impacts, clutches as we just saw, but has just been so good for Dignitas for just to get a couple of kills around in some cases. It would be a great way to not expend too much, keep that economy good in their favor. Odorous is going to be picking up the operator and hasn't found much success. Bottom fragging in the server completely at this point. An aggressive push coming in very quickly from Kanpeki. That's going to be a good layer, but they haven't spotted Superman. Nobody's even really checking him, but they have 4 pistols pointing at him towards the end at least. And Maka actually using the Hunter's Fury is interesting. Again, he's good for 2. Figment's last alive with this ghost. He's surrounded by Dignitas players that catch him out. Another really good round for Dignitas, but probably a lot more stressful than it needed to be for the defenders.
Yeah, Maka is playing superb. Like, you look at the rest of the team, he is 10 kills above anyone else. 22-8. And he might be just about doing enough to drag his team through this map kicking and screaming. Of course, this is elimination. If they lose this one, they are out. And although, sure, with a brand new roster, at least getting into the top 16 wouldn't be bad. I'm sure they'd like to have another go at either Envy or, of course, Sentinels. But it isn't done just yet. Spot Up, proven their resilience so far, strutting their stuff in the first map, and now look to do the same here. Investment doesn't seem to be too bad either. The last round was mostly pistols, so although they didn't get a spike plant, they didn't really need it for the extra investment. However, can they get this round back? Because if not, we're looking at Dig on 11 and potentially even a third map.
Ooh, Rustin. He's 1 away from having a lockdown too, so if he can get a kill, it might open up opportunities. He does that, but he needs to be careful that the Omen doesn't trade him out in Garage. He's been lurking there a little bit. Just going to take the fight. He just doesn't check. That's a nice 2k from Rustin. The A-site's going to come in. Showstopper, not really necessary, but even then, it still gets the kill onto Maka. It's just the Reina that I'm worried about. Defending side is on A short. It's a nice position for Sam to be in. They're not expecting him to be there. Narrow still gets that flag even when the plant is coming in. So Dignitas in a 1 versus 4. You can't expect them to do too much here. Nice play from Spotter.
They've managed to take the round, but they've used a fair amount to get it. So going into the next few, it might become a little bit tougher without those tasty ultimates to get them some free frags. They're still looking to try and make this one at least a little bit more costly, but without spotting anybody out for the while, the chances are he will just lose his life peeking. And in fact, they've actually done most of the damage just straight through the wall. Tucker gets the kill in the end, and Spot Up, they eventually break back.
I like the fact that because of the wall bang damage, they then saw the Killjoy just kind of like flop into the side from aim punch. It's not going to be funny on the side of Dignitas, though. We're on a bit of a streak, but Spot Up had a good round there. Mostly down to Rustin, who is now starting to pick up the pace a little bit. Has that lockdown, but all of the other ultimates used on the side of Spot Up. the Empress, the From the Shadows, the Showstopper. They're still going to be happy that so many ultimates got used on a round like that. They still have advantage, they still have money, they still have some decent ults for a retake too. The map control is pretty good to the point to spot up. Really not wanting to move anywhere without much meaning, I suppose.
Odorous start getting aggressive, and he finds there isn't even an option for a trade, although the repeat might have been a little bit too cheeky. And even initial battle, and in the meantime, you can see this push in. I don't think they expected a second operator. I'll be honest, I didn't even really expect a second operator onto Def, but it looks like he's pulling out. Could be the carry for this round. And Pecky looking for a second trade, but he's going to be headshotted through the box. Another round coming up from the veteran, and well, now only 2 players stand for spot up. It could be a short-lived comeback at this rate, as Def's going to be waiting around the edge of the smoke.
30 seconds left.
Just using that corner to his advantage, and they walk straight past him. You found this turret, but you haven't found Def. And it will be 11-8 now. Dignitas slowly grasping their way back into this one and in towards that third map.
And look at the economy for Spotter. They lose this next round, Dignitas going to match point, and they will have very little money in the way to try and stop that from happening if we get there. A must-win round for them. And they really only have the lockdown to play off because so many ultimates were used in the round before. Dignitas ready to go with 3 of them at least. And Super has got a really nice position. A lot of Omens have caught people out in the matches that we've even seen today. Even the spray is pretty good, but can't get a frag. But he is expecting these players. Rotation even going to come in. Dignitas have such a good read on this. We could spot a push them through.
You should run.
So lucky that he hasn't found anything here. Won't matter though, now he can see his opponents. It's the same job nonetheless, and everything's falling apart for spot up. One by one, losing their lives. Rustin doing a good job to at least try and hold on, but he has to back out so that he isn't. He doesn't really get caught. It's all falling apart. They've lost another round. It's 12-8 in favor of Dignitas, and they are 1 away from heading us into a third map. And I'll be honest, what we saw earlier, I believe the last map Split, right? Everybody's been banning Vine.
Yes.
So on Split earlier, they looked pretty good.
A question mark certainly around spot up. Can have a quick look and break down the stats, but right now it's not the time really. Dignitas looking a much stronger team, a team that took Sentinel super close on this map, is looking to at least win it once today. They need to. Spot up have a lot of utility, just trying to sort of force them through with the little guns that they have, but they are going to run right into Sam. If they can get a frag, they can't. He goes down. He's able to get a few, string them together, and even survive a little bit longer. His team are going to be there. The spike is not even on the site, ready to be planted. Things are looking good for them.
I don't think we saw a successful B-take throughout that whole map, and it isn't going to change now. Dignitas on the defensive side will close things out. They are going to be getting themselves into the third and final map. A decider, a best of one, which will basically, well, decide who's out of the whole tournament in the last place of this qualifier at least.
I think there were a lot of opportunities where Spot Up could have got some more rounds and made that a little bit more closer towards the end. Big mistakes on either side, but I feel like Dignitas started to flare up with some of the more individual skill. Depth looked really good on this map, on the Killjoy. I don't know whether we'll see it on Split. A lot more teams are more focused in bringing it into play. But this is, you know, the best of 3. It's gone all the way between these two teams. Whoever loses is out of the qualifiers and won't have a chance, at least for now, to get into the grand finals in December for a chance of 100k, which would be great for pretty much anybody still in this tournament. And even better for Spot Up if you're still looking for a team to pick up your roster and to do this full time.
Yeah, that's for sure. I think that's the thing that we really need to look at is even if they do go on and fall eventually to the likes of Sentinels or Envy, depending on who goes back down into the lower bracket, you're going to start paying real attention to this team because they're beating or have beaten on the previous map at least Dignitas, who are a team that are looking to rise back up the ranks, who did some real damage previously at Pop Flash. So I've been impressed so far, but they've still got a long, long way to go, because Split earlier was a 13-11 loss versus the Sentinels, who many will consider the best team in North America. So if Dignitas can pull out that sort of performance again, they're probably going to take this one 2-1. Either way, we are going to have to hand this one off to a break. And once we come back, we will then be seeing who is going to be heading through to the next stage and who is